Hey everybody, welcome back to the Dungeon Dive. Daniel here, and welcome back to the continuing deep dive into the depths of Shadows of Brimstone. And in this episode, we're going to talk about two things, some storage solutions, and then I'm going to do a quick lamination tutorial because enough people have asked me what I use to laminate and the process in that. So maybe a boring video to some, maybe not to some others. But I am not super into storage solutions for games. I know some people are, and some people have very elaborate, fancy storage solutions for their Shadows of Brimstone collections. And I get it, it is a game that requires some kind of storage solution. I make do with what I have and what I can. So you will probably find way more elaborate storage solutions in like the Facebook groups. I know some people have these file systems where they keep all their tiles and just crazy detailed storage. I don't. I make it work. So what I am a huge fan of though is not playing with everything. Okay, I never play Shadows of Brimstone with everything that I own. I always play, excuse me, I always play with subsets. And I like to make a subset of the things I want to play with. It helps me dial in like on a theme. It allows me to maybe just experience, have a more concentrated experience with a certain expansion, that kind of thing. Right now, I am basically just playing, and it's been like this for quite some time. I am just playing with stuff from Forbidden Fortress and Blasted Wastes with a few other enemy expansions mixed in. For instance, just like the two I got, I'm going to mix these guys in. So I did end up putting together the Magma Giant, and I like this mini quite a bit. It's very chunky, pretty cool. And then, I will be mixing in the Wasteland Terralisk into my Blasted Wastes stuff. So I do have some stuff mixed in, but I'm mainly just focusing on Forbidden Fortress. And so right now, the stuff that I am playing with is only in this stack here with this coffin box, which does contain my tiles. I'm not using anything in these boxes or in these boxes, and I am using a few things from this file here. So let's take a look at some of this stuff here. So the main thing that you want to organize, let's take a look at this first so I can get done, is I keep all of my tiles in baggies in the coffin boxes. So I have the sets that I'm using right now in this box. I have the sets that I'm not using in the in one of the other boxes. I think it's for the City of Ancients. So that's where I keep my tiles, and that's just simply like this, where I will keep them. I will keep the junctions, the passages, in their own separate bags. So we have those junctions there, passages there. I will keep the each group, each kind of world in its bag here. So this is the Forest of the Dead bag. And then I have my end pieces for each of the themes in their own bag. Like that. And then we have your regular Forbidden Fortress and your Belly of the Beast, your Blasted Waste and Canyons. And then in the bottom here are the extra large tiles, because the newer sets do come with some very large tiles that don't fit easily in the bags, and they're just at the bottom. And so since I'm only playing with Forbidden Fortress, Forest of the Dead, and Blasted Wastes, I don't have a ton of tiles I need to search through, so it helps keep the game going at a good clip, and I don't need a ton of space around the table to store tiles and that kind of thing. So that has worked for me in the past, so that is what I continue to do. All right, one of the big things is storing your cards, because as we've seen, there are a ton of cards for Shadows of Brimstone, and I use these long boxes here for baseball cards or collectible cards. And then I have card dividers here where I keep everything organized. So I have like all of my mine encounters, I have all of my mine artifacts, swamp artifacts, swamp maps, swamp encounters, like that, target artifacts, target maps, and target encounters, cinder, and so on in each world I have here. And then I have this collection here, which is all of the info cards, all of the different cards you're going to get with different information on them. And of course, a lot of these are duplicates, but I just throw them all in that bin here. Then I have a couple of these deck boxes that I do keep stuff in. Right now, in these deck boxes, these are the updated cards from the update pack that I haven't mixed in to the sets yet. So I'm not using anything in this box. Likewise, I am not using anything right now in this box. So this is a whole nother box of cards here. So this has some threats. This is like all of my threats over here. This is all of my loot, all of my gear cards there. Darkness cards that I'm not using. And then we have our character cards that I'm not using. Starting gear, personal items, town ally cards there. Town and ally cards, and then the various little theme sets and expansions that I'm not using. So like the Black Fang expansion, the Vampire expansion, Succubi, Crimson Hand, werewolves. I am using werewolves, so I need to move these out into my other box. And then we have some various other cards that go with expansions like Shadow Magic, Scafford Gang, Serpent Men, Void Sorcerers, Undead Gunslingers, and the Flesh Stalkers there. All right, so those are the cards I'm not using. The cards that let's look at the other stuff I'm not using. So I do have some stuff in this Temple of Shadows box. So this would just get put on the shelf and taken out when I would ever need to use it. One thing I do is when I make my subset of stuff that I'm going to use, as people who are into this game know, it is sometimes hard to focus in on only one thing because a lot of the cards will reference other sets. You might draw a card that says something to pull something from another set. Well, if that set isn't part of what I am using, I just draw something from what I am using so I don't have to keep going back to other boxes. But these are a bunch of tokens that I'm not using right now. The game comes with so many chits and you just hardly ever use all of them. They just keep giving you more and more and more, especially these orange quest markers that, you know, they're fun for doing house rules, and maybe we'll talk a little bit about that when we get to like the hex crawl stuff. But yeah, you just get a ton of stuff, a ton of chits in this game that you almost never use. Here are all of my like side bag tokens and extra small tokens that I'm not using right now. So I have those marked like what they are on the top of the box there. And then I have them in the box. And then I also have printed this sheet here that lists almost all of the basic side bag tokens. So we have a quick handy reference of what those are in case we need them. And then also in this box, I have my end caps for worlds I'm not using, and some of my large tile overlays for worlds that I'm not using, and some extra money in there. So this is just kind of a storage box here of stuff that maybe I'll mix in to a set at a later time. All right, I'm also not using this storage bin right here. And in this storage bin here, I have some extra large minis. Now, the minis in this game, while I have said they're not the greatest quality in terms of the detail and the sculpt, what they are is chunky and super sturdy. I have no fear at all just tossing my minis in a box like this, especially since I dipped them in this mini wax poly shade, because this creates like this super hard kind, almost like a plastic shell over them. So these things are like, I'm not going to say they're indestructible, but you can like manhandle these things, where I would never handle a KDM mini like that, because this thing is going to get broken. These hands are going to get broken. These minis, these Shadows of Brimstone minis, are incredibly like strong, and so I have no problem just tossing them, especially since they're not pro painted or anything. So this is just another storage box. I have my stack of enemy cards that I'm not using in my sets. I have my chits from the various themed mission packs that I'm not using. I've got all of my passages and junctions that I'm not using for those sets. And I also have this box here of the Eastern doorways that I am not using, because the doorways, so the doorway plastic model sets, they come with doors and I never use them. But the reason I buy them is they also come with a 15 card expansion pack. So, and there are some pretty cool cards in those doorway expansions. So this is another plastic tub of stuff I'm not using. And then we also have these plastic tubs of the minis that I'm not using right now. And I don't have these really stored in any particular order. I just have these big storage units here, and I have written on top what they are. So Lava Men, Necronauts, Night Terrors, Rat Nest, which I am using, Serpent Men, Stranglers, Slashers, that kind of thing. And yeah, I just keep them in there like that. For the most part, it works pretty well. So I've got those. I've got this set here that I'm not using. In this set here, I am using the Hell Vermin in my games right now. So there's some more minis I keep stored like that. And then here we have the final ones. I am using the werewolf set. So I have the werewolves in that, in the set that I am using. And then here are some of the doors. So here are some of the Otherworld doors from the Western set, and then some of the Mine archways. So I just keep those stacked in here. I mean, it's kind of like a throwback again to Warhammer Quest, but you don't really ever need them in this game. You don't slot the map pieces in, so it's not as crucial as it is. All right, so that was some more plastic storage there. Then this is a really handy file system here, little pocket file pocket, where I just keep all kinds of information. So in the center here, I have stuff for hex crawl, and then we have some universal head rules, sheets, summaries to keep there. I have a printed out FAQ that I took from the Flying Frogs website. The Shadows of Brimstone art book, which we are going to be taking a look at. And then I have my large enemy sheets that we're not using. I have all of my enemy information sheets here. And I put in those new expansion heroes there, or the enemies, the legendary enemies, that I do need to mix those into the sets that I'm using now, because I do want to use those. And then back here we have our all of our books. So we have our books for the different expansions. We have our books for the different mission packs, and we have our books for the core sets that I'm not using. And then I keep like my players right now. The only player who has a hero that we're keeping right now is my buddy Ron. And like I said, he is playing with the orphan, so I keep his character in there. And then on the other side of the hex crawl stuff, I have all of my stuff for the town, for the Western town. And since I'm not playing with the Western town, I'm only playing with the Feudal Village in Forbidden Fortress core set and the Blasted Waste town. I don't need to keep any of this stuff out. I do have my expansion hero stuff there. All of my hero cards that I'm not using are kept there. And then just a couple of other, my allies and that kind of stuff. So really the only stuff I use from this binder here are the yeah, hex crawl stuff when I'm playing with that. And I always play with hex crawl. Okay, so this is the stuff then that I am focusing on, that I'm using right now. Again, I do need to mix this stuff in, and I need to sleeve these cards to mix those in. I need to add the dice from the Magma Giant in, and add these two guys into this bottom bin here. But I am running into a problem now because the box of cards of the stuff I'm using is full. And so I'm going to have to get some little card decks, some deck holders, and figure out, because there are going to be a few more cards that I'm going to need to add to this eventually. And so yeah, so this is all the stuff I'm using now. I have a custom threat deck where I've gone through all of the threat cards and just picked out the enemies that I want to fight. So since I'm playing with like 2 heroes most of the time, I will be mostly focusing on the low threats. And so, like I said, most of this stuff are enemies from Forbidden Fortress, because I am just kind of focusing on Forbidden Fortress right now and playing with that stuff. But there are some other things like these Darkstone Scorpions, Hell Vermin, some more Hell Vermin, some Scourge Rats, Sand Crabs, that kind of stuff. So this is the threat deck that I'm using most of the time now in my game. And then in this box here, I also just have all of the cards from all the different expansions and all the different card decks that I need. We have our artifacts, we have our encounters, more encounters, darkness cards, growing dread, our different loot decks, our scavenge decks, our Bartertown events, haunted castle map card, all your map cards, and some more info cards and stuff like that. So not too bad, easy to store and easy just to get out and have one box with all of my cards that I am using. And then here are the minis that I'm using in this game now. So we have all of the small minis that I'm using, including the scorpions. In this box, we have our allies there. All of our heroes are over here. Then this is some of the other enemies I'm using. Some of these are doubled up, like the werewolves and these spirits here, or the storm lords and these dudes here. We've got our oni, our sand crabs, that kind of stuff. So those are the enemies. So now I'm only needing to get into 2 boxes of enemies when I fight. Keeps that handy. And then in the Forest of the Dead box here, I have all of the chits that I need in 2 boxes here. So those and those, side bag and little other tokens there. We have my Crown Royale bag of dice, of course, from the Northern Harvest Rye, which I will now dump the Magma Giant dice in. So lots of dice there. Okay, then I have these 2 little Tupperwares full of, this is for keeping track of experience, little poker chips that come with one of the expansions. And then some cardboard money to keep track of money. And just a little baggie full of various map overlays that will be used at some point. All right, so that's a pretty easy box to keep track of there. And then finally, this is the miscellaneous tub of stuff that I'm using. And here we have our sanity tokens for keeping track of sanity damage. We have our wound tokens for keeping track of physical damage. I've got a few deck boxes here, character cards and personal items, character cards. This is the gear, this is the loot deck that I am playing with now. Only stuff from Forbidden Fortress, so I can experience that loot. Then we have a few little tubs. This is the werewolf expansion. These are those little chits that represent the enemies that are in one expansion that you may not have the mini for because you didn't have the other expansion. So I keep all of those in there. I hardly ever use these. We have our location tiles for the Bartertown and encounter tokens and just kind of various tokens that get used in different missions. And some more of those orange special tokens that never get used. And then some of the larger enemies here, which this is where I'm going to toss in the two new guys. And then underneath those, we have all of our big cardboard stuff. So we have our stack of enemies that I'm playing with now. We have our hero cards that I'm playing with now. And then all of our different books and large printouts that we're using now. and then our stuff from our barter town and that kind of stuff. So yeah, that's it. That is how I store Shadows of Brimstone. It is not a super elegant storage solution. You will find much better out there, but for me it works, and playing with a subset of stuff for me is key to enjoying Shadows of Brimstone. When I was playing with everything, it was not fun. It took forever to set up. It took forever to find things. It was just, it ended up I had to have like 2 side tables just to play one game. And so focusing on a subset of stuff just makes the game far more enjoyable for me. And you know, this is already at 20 minutes. So I'm going to make a additional episode on lamination, probably the most exciting board game YouTube video you will ever see. Yeah, right. But all right, guys. Well, I hope you enjoyed this look at how I store and use my stuff from Shadows of Brimstone. Talk to you later. Bye-bye.